tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
And I do have a legal question about the protest. David Whiting, in a moment. We can see the live pictures of the protest at the top of the Westgate. The protesters have all been taken off the truck by the police. And we did see pictures as well of 3 of the protesters handcuffed and put into a police car. There is a question for David Whiting. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Raph.
Before I get to the question, if I can just convey some of the sentiment. Don't give these muppets on the bridge any more coverage. That is just what they want. You are only encouraging them. Murray's feeling very differently. If your home is uninsurable, if your electricity is unaffordable, welcome to a climate crisis. Start protesting to your local member. Climate has changed, so we all need to change and act. But David, for you, a question. Please ask David Whiting about the feasibility of a class action against Extinction Rebellion to cover our additional travel costs and lost income. Is that at all feasible?
Yes, not practical, but feasible.
What do you mean?
Yeah, well, it's feasible in the sense that my view is that there's an unlawful act on the Westgate Bridge, or what appears to be. I got stopped, and as a result of what you did, I have lost half a day's pay. I've spent another $20 on fuel, whatever it is. So the answer is yes. But what you've got is you've got a whole series of people with what I'd call micro losses. So am I going to run, and I'm not going to run a class action, so let's be very clear about that. But would somebody run a class action where the average claim is $50 or $60?
Yeah, right.
And I would have come along and said, normally, Raph, these things settle on, let's assume this settles, right? If it settles...
And they've got assets.
It would only settle if there were assets, yes. The lawyers would end up with about a third of whatever the sum was. So your $50 is now $35. You have to be really passionate to maintain that, Raph. And most people are, in my experience, not. So there needs to be an extraordinary commitment. And then there's the question of whether or not what you're doing is you're giving the protest more air.
Oh, yeah.
What you're doing is you're creating...
That'd be a media event, wouldn't it?
It would be an extraordinary media event. And it would be, it reminds me of that McDonald's took on a couple in England and ran them to the High Court. And the matter just went on and on and on and on. So, I'm issuing proceedings with a view of crushing you, and it just didn't work. So I would be coming along and saying, how much more air do you want to give it?
Interesting. You had 2 follow-ups from last week?
I did. I wouldn't call them homework because I didn't make any promises. Magella from Western Australia, Wembley in Western Australia, with an investment property in Melbourne. And the people put in a sauna after being requested, receiving a request and saying no. And what ought she do? So I sort of want... There are getting rid of a tenant. There are 5 reasons. Some of them make sense. Some of them don't make a great deal of sense. So, for example, I want to sell the property that I've got, the investment property that I've got. I don't have an investment property, so let's make that easy. I need to engage an agent or prepare a contract of sale before I can use that as grounds.
Yeah.
So the fact that I want to do some work on the property before I can put it on the market for sale, now I've got to go to the end point before I can start doing the work. She has 2 choices. If there is serious damages caused to the property, she can... then you can give an automatic immediate termination notice, provided you follow the rules. But if it's
Is that
not,
serious damage, putting in the sauna when you're
I don't
told
know.
not to?
I mean, that would really say, well, what did they do? What changes did they make?
Yeah.
So I'd be coming along and saying that was my path, my action would be to issue a VCAT for restoration of the premises to the proper condition they were in. And if they then didn't comply, you can give them a 14-day notice for failing to comply with the VCAT order. The second question from last week was, and you got any number of emails, text messages disagreeing with me. Ian from Dandenong didn't like his building surveyor. He was an owner-builder. He needed a building surveyor so that the property could be assessed at stages of development to provide confidence to buyers. he thought that his building surveyor was being unreasonable and too demanding, and you can't, in fact, despite what I said, you can't fire a building surveyor without the permission of the Victorian Building Authority. And they're fairly supportive for building surveyors, so the fact that I think he's being unreasonable wouldn't be enough. It's really a question of inability to do the job properly.
Okay, there you go.
That's it.
Clarification there, you can't get rid of your building surveyor that easily. Vanessa is first up, calling from Inverloch. What is your query, Vanessa?
Oh, hi. Yes, thank you for taking my call. We have a beach house that we holiday short-term rent through a booking agency. And we just got an email from the Shire advising our property's been identified, we must register, pay a fee, and they'll review our application. And they say failure to register will result in compliance action. Now, I've looked up the local laws manual, and the maximum is approximately 20 penalty points, which is about $950, and they quote the local law number 1 neighbourhood amenity 2022.
Yes.
So my two questions are, I spoke to my booking agency and they said, well, the statewide government levy will replace this come January 1, 2025, so they won't be able to do it anymore from then anyway.
Yes.
Can we just ignore them for this year? And get what sort of compliance?
Vanessa, the answer is every day you're advertising it could be a new fine.
Well, I mean, I spoke to my booking agency and he said under former registration schemes in the past, they've not come across any compliance action. The council's never taken anyone to court. And the Mornington CEO, Peninsula CEO, was complaining on the radio the other week saying, oh, well, we can't really enforce it.
So you're asking if you can flout the law, aren't you, Vanessa?
Well, I just want to ignore it for a year because the statewide thing's going to come in anyway, which obviously, but I mean, the thing is, it's about privacy. It's not actually about the fee. I don't want them coming in and they it's just painful.
Let's find out, though, what David thinks about the saying no, not registering, flouting the law in that way. What do you think, David? Is there a consequence, inevitably?
Well, this is back to the enforcement question.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate for me to break the law because you're unlikely to be challenged? And that's everybody can take their own view on that. I mean, my view, Vanessa, is if that's the law, you should do your best to fall within it. And if you fail the compliance, then clearly the council has some issue with the standard of the premises.
Maybe we should flick David's talkback topic from legal talk to ethical talk, and we'll see if we get different answers.
Don't do that.
Just by the way, Raj has texted, the Westgate has started moving. This is according to Raj. All lanes are moving, heading up the incline now. So we know the protesters have been arrested. It may well be the case that the traffic is improving drastically. Peter is in Knoxfield. What's your query, Peter?
Good morning, Ralph. Morning, David.
Morning.
My son works for a firm and he's worried that they're going to go into liquidation fairly soon. He hasn't been paid for 4 weeks and some of his super hasn't been paid from last year. He's owed approximately $16,000, he thinks, at this stage.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he's wondering about what action he should try and take to retrieve or get some of his money.
I would be inclined to recommend that he hangs around, Peter. There is a federal government scheme that fund. I take it he's not a director or an owner?
No, he's a worker.
Okay. There are different rules for people who are owners and people who are directors. The general proposition, most of his money would be paid by the federal government and then recovered as part of the liquidation to the extent possible. But I don't know that the rules are the same if you leave employ. So it might be an entitlement that you have if you are working there, but it might not be an entitlement you have if you are a former worker with monies outstanding.
Yep. All right. Yep.
All right. So I would be doing some research as to whether he's disadvantaged by staying. If he's not disadvantaged by if he's not disadvantaged by going, then based on what you're telling me, I'd move. But I wouldn't want to really lose the $16,000.
Yeah, the other problem is, he's sort of running out of money a bit to live by.
That's what dads are for, Pete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, Peter. And sorry, David, just from memory, that government scheme doesn't guarantee you all that you earn, but doesn't it guarantee you sort of a
It guarantees
minimum?
You an amount of money and a minimum, yes.
Yeah.
With an upper limit. Yep.
Yeah. Good luck, Peter. That's not a good place to be in for your son. Josh is in Seaholm. What do you want to ask, Josh?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Josh.
Yes. David, a few weeks ago, I was in a supermarket car park, stationary, about to back into a slot. As I was waiting there came, stopped, and just about to back into the slot, another lady, an old lady, backed into my car on the front side. It's all good. She came out shaking, very nervous, etc. It was all good. Civil exchange. I gave her my rego, showed her my license, etc. And it was all good. Then I asked her for her details. She said, "Oh, I'm insured with this particular company, and this is my rego number." And she didn't give me any other information. Now, at that point, I said, "Okay, what am I going to do? I can't do too much." So I said, "Okay, this should be sufficient information," and passed it.
So she didn't give you what? She didn't give you her license number?
Well, but
No.
that's where it gets interesting, Raf. There's a requirement to exchange names and addresses.
Legal requirement?
Yes. And failure to exchange names and addresses is an offence. So you could come along and, in Josh's situation, say, without your name and address, I'm calling the police. Right? But it's not an offence not to prove it. So if you and I had a car accident, you told me your name was John Smith and gave me an address, I can't do anything with that.
So if I say to you, my name's John Smith, 123 Street, City,
yes,
I've fulfilled the legal requirement.
But presuming that's a valid address, the answer would be, no, you failed to give me your name and address. But how do I know it's wrong when you give it to me? I'm not required to prove the accuracy of the information that I give you.
Does that answer your question, Josh?
Well, essentially, yes. I've missed the boat then, because my insurance company now says that I'm due, though I'm not at fault, I'm due for the excess. So you're due for the excess because you're making a claim. Go and report the matter to the police station. I did not look. It was just a nice morning, and an old lady backs into me. She's nervous. I said, okay. I didn't anticipate. No, but Josh, you've got the registration number. You go to the police, you report the accident, and you say, the lady who was driving, who meets this description, failed to provide me with her name and address. I want to take the matter further, but I can't. And they will almost inevitably give you her name and address. Okay. And could I explain to them that the process with the insurance company has been going on? It'll be much easier if you can identify the driver of the other car.
Good luck, Josh. And David, I'm just checking. If I've been involved in a car accident, I can get someone's details that easily from the police, do you think?
As a general proposition, if you're prepared to say that there was an accident, this happened, and no details were provided, my experience is you can get it.
Right. How do they know I'm not lying, scamming?
With your smile, there wouldn't be any shit.
No, but seriously, issue like, domestic violence situation.
Well, one of the things that Josh has got, I've made a claim on my insurance company. Here's a copy of the claim. Here's the evidence of the accident.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's a formal process that you can run in the magistrate's court to do it as well.
Right.
But I do think I'm a little bit worried that Josh's cost isn't going to be anywhere near justifying a court action.
No, it doesn't sound like it. And Kathy, you're in Mitcham. Kathy, what's your query?
Morning. Hi, Ras. Hi, David. I've got a question. I got a traffic fine, a red light camera fine for $481. I asked for a review. The review appears to have been knocked back. The photo of the incident shows a green light, but I'm still required to pay. What do you think I should do? Is this photo the only evidence they have?
Well, unless they've got some they haven't shown you, but what you do is you tell them you want to take the matter to court.
Okay, so that's
my
only option.
Here's my evidence. There I am in the intersection. The light's green. What's the problem?
Right.
Yeah.
One other thing, Kathy, with the red light fine, it has usually a time elapsed, like how long the light has been red for.
Yeah.
Before you enter the intersection. Does it have a time elapsed on the fine? It
does, and it's about 0.05 or something crazy. It's 0.5 seconds, it says.
Oh, yeah, no, they're often about 0.5. They're often about half a second.
But it shows that the light was green. Are you sure it's not green for the other direction of traffic?
No, absolutely sure.
Oh,
the photo is green. The light is green.
So did you go in and deal with it, or did you, or have you just done it by mail?
I have just done it online through Fines Victoria. I've asked for a review, and I didn't even really get a response. It just says the fine is now due at the end of this month.
Okay, then you want the matter to go to the Magistrates Court.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good luck, Kathy. 1300 222 774 is the phone number. Back with more of your legal queries in a moment.
The Conversation Hour is a daily 1 hour, one issue deep dive, but it's also a podcast. Catch up on just one of the topics from last week, the importance of friendship with the UK's Elizabeth Day.
It's a fascinating philosophical question because AI on the one hand, if every child in the playground has an AI friend, does that mean that there will be no bullying? Or does it mean because AI is a mirror that there will end up being AI bullies?
The Conversation Hour, up next at 11.
This is ABC Radio Melbourne with Raf Epstein.
Susan's got this. I'm related to the Smiths of Smith Street in Smithton, and the police did not believe my cousin when he gave his name and address. A ton of people getting information from police stations, David, in precisely the same circumstance, but one person saying they've been waiting for a year. So clearly most circumstances you get the name and address and the other driver. Some circumstances you don't. Deb is calling from Inverloch. What's your query, Deb?
Hi.
I have to ask, Deb, do you know Vanessa?
No, I don't.
Okay, our first caller this morning was Vanessa from Inverloch. That was all.
We might know each other. It's
okay.
I bought an incy-bincy apartment in Cremorne a couple of years ago, and both conveyancers had our email address, our phone numbers, etc. All of the amenities are direct debit. And when we bought the apartment, there were still other apartments being finished, and the property manager said, you'll get your owner's corporation notice in due time. So 20 months passed by, and we finally got an email with the fee, and they included almost $4,000 worth of interest and penalty fees.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said,
Deb,
when I rang them and asked...
Deb, you need to talk to your conveyancer, all right?
Okay.
Because it is the conveyancer's... It kind of depends on what you paid for, but as a general practice, whoever is acting for you on the purchase is supposed to notify the manager of the owner's corporation of you.
Okay.
Right, now the question is, did they or didn't they? So there might be a little bit of shoe leather that needs to go into this, but upon acquiring a property, the owner's corporation manager is to be notified.
Right.
So you need to ask what happened.
Well, I did ask not the property manager, the body corporate manager, and they said, we sent it to your old address. Well, clearly that wasn't my address because the conveyance we'd sold it.
Well, it's up to the case. So you bought a property that you moved into?
Yeah. Well, no, it's just a little bolt hole in the city. So yeah.
Oh, okay. As opposed to Vanessa, who has a holiday house in Inverloch. Right. So, Deb, the question really would be, what was your... Sorry, don't tell us what it is, but you had a certain address when you bought the property?
Yes. So it was a bought and sold. So we sold one property.
No, let's not talk about the unit in Cremorne. Someone has notified the owner's corporation manager of the wrong address? Or did you buy the new residential address after the Cremorne? So I think I would be going to the conveyancer or solicitor who acted for you at the time of the purchase and say, who did you notify, when did you notify, and what information did you give them? And if they've provided the wrong address as a result of not properly appreciating your instructions, the issue's theirs, not yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, Deb. Ray is in Benalla. Ray, what's your query?
G'day, how you going?
Good.
Yeah, good. Sorry, I meant not to ask that question.
It's fine.
That's okay.
I'm wondering about taking photos of people in public places. Is there any restriction or...
There may be a restriction by the person who controls the what I'll call a public place. So, for example, the Melbourne Museum doesn't like you taking pictures. Sorry, it's more that they're...
Shopping mall.
Shopping malls is inside somebody's property. But it's really a question of whether you're taking them for commercial gain.
No, this is just through my interest. So I often see people in situations where they're exasperated with kids, or they've just sat down and you can see this big sigh of relief, or you see a mum or a dad walking kids up the street and you think, oh yes, that reminds me of the old-fashioned
Stephen, I would
be
wondering, I mean, if you took a group photo, if you stood in Flinders Street and took a photo, then I would come along and say, and so what? The players are insignificant. But if you took a close-up of a lady crying over a cup of tea in a food court in a shopping centre, that strikes me as somewhat more intrusive.
Yes.
I mean, subject to the... I don't know that in terms of the shopping centre you're probably breaching whatever rights you have to be in the centre, but I come along and say it's kind of intrusive.
Yep. Okay.
But it doesn't make it against
illegal.
the law.
Not illegal.
No.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Stay nice. And Maggie is in Shepparton. What's your question, Maggie?
Yes, hi. How you going?
Good.
I have a quick query. I received a parking fine recently. I parked my car outside a charity shop right at the front door, and I got my parcel out of the back seat, walked in the front door, popped it on the donation trolley and back to my car, less than 60 seconds. It would have taken longer to actually go to the pay station and, access the payment. But I received a parking fine within that time, and I thought there should have been a buffer zone. So I actually...
Let me ask you, Maggie.
Yes?
Were you going to go to the pay station or were you not?
Well, actually, I don't own a phone, so no, I wasn't. And I didn't have a wallet because I wasn't shopping. I just saw this empty car spot in front of the charity station, and I decided, oh, look, I'll jump in and give them my donation. So I raced into the shop, dumped it, came out, and there was...
Bingo, I have a ticket.
Yes.
Yes. Maggie, there isn't a buffer zone, buffer time. I actually wondered about it once because, it was really simple when the parking meter was right next to the parking bay. Now it could be 20 metres up the road. My view is that that's okay because you're going to pay, but you've actually told me you had no intention of paying. My sympathy's just gone out the door. But no, the answer is if you'd been on your way to buy the ticket, you wouldn't have had this problem.
Well, I did a bit of a survey after this, and I came across a lady who went to the pay station to purchase the ticket, and she was midway through the transaction. When she looked back to her car, her mother was struggling to get out, her elderly mother. So she went back to help her mother and then was fined for not completing the transaction.
So this is a warning to people in Shepparton, is it, Maggie?
Yes, it is.
I reckon it is, because I actually did do a survey after
Perhaps
this.
their budgets
it happened
are
in
too
November. High. And this was the day
how much is
before
the fine,
they
Maggie?
implemented free parking.
How much is the fine?
$96.
Oh, yeah, it's not small. Okay.
Well, Melbourne now has the 15-minute free parking, but you still need the app to make it work.
You said to Maggie her intentions are what matter. Is that...
Well, no.
Is that the legal situation?
No.
I'm just curious.
Well, I would be coming in... Where I'd look at it is Maggie's gone off to do something else.
Yes.
If Maggie had gone to pay for the space and then gone to the opportunity shop, perfect, right? Even if she was between her car and the pay station. I think...
Because the intentions surely don't make a legal difference, do they?
Well, these are offences of strict liability, so your intention is irrelevant.
The intention is irrelevant. It's like speeding.
Parked, you haven't paid.
Yeah, so that's it, end of story. So you might get some mitigation because you said, I was off to buy a ticket. You won't get some mitigation if you say, I wasn't.
I didn't, I wasn't going to be there long enough to justify paying you.
Okay.
Sorry, Maggie.
Sorry, Maggie. And just by the way, the Kathy who rang about the red light fine and the picture was green, some good text tips. Apparently for every red light and speeding image, there is also an associated video which starts 5 seconds before the incident and ends 5 seconds after the incident. Few people sent that on the text, so that might be another route for Kathy.
Come to town and have a look at the video.
That's right. Or maybe I'm sure you can do it online now, David.
Probably.
I know you love snail mail and walking into Victoria, Victoria.
Absolutely. That's why I have an office in town.
That's what online's for, David. Yeah. That's what online's for. You don't have any homework.
No.
Feet up. Relax.
Long weekend. This is great.
That's right.
Okay.
Great. There you go.
See you in a week.
See you in a week. Thank you very much. David Whiting, Melbourne solicitor.